Here we
As with most of these day stages, there's an optional pathway right to our left at the start that will give us a lot of rings that we'll need to boost through the early parts of the level. It's also much faster than the normal road. There are a lot of mines here on the beach, but we can boost straight through them and they won't damage us. And it may seem a little silly to drop off and take the slower path, but it makes taking this curve way faster, as we can skip most of it and run straight down the middle, as you saw. Plus, we get a 20 ring boost for doing it. On this uphill section, obviously hitting these springboard enemies is a bad idea because it will slow us down by almost 5 seconds. That's a lot of seconds. And if we miss this quick time event, we'll fall down to the island below, which will waste a lot of time. Might as well restart if you goof that one up. And the 2D section here in the jungle is, in my experience, where you make or break the time for this level. We want to do really well here because the final stretch of the level I'm going to need to move slow. Thankfully, this one is fairly straightforward and the stylish paths are often the fastest ones. There's also plenty of opportunities to boost, as there often are in these 2D sections. And now we're back to 3D and almost at the final stretch of the level, but not quite. We're going to want to boost as much as possible here. Because we're on rails, there's no way to fall off or run into a wall, so we're going to use this section to get as much speed as possible. And after this kinda cool transition, we're going to end up on the final part of the level, and you'll see why I need to move slow. There are a lot of 90-degree turns in this section. I mean, in all honesty, I suppose this isn't that slow, but it's slow for Sonic Unleashed. Keep in mind that the only reason I can afford to go slower during this final section is because we did so well on the rest of the level. The most important thing to remember during this whole segment is that sometimes the turns have rails and sometimes they don't. If a turn has rails, you can usually get away with boosting. And this action chain in particular I think is very important to hit, as it lets us skip over a rather difficult section that would slow us down significantly. But as you can see, we'll just barely make it.
piece of cake. Here we
Yes, our good old friend, the Collect the Rings mission. This one is fairly simple, and if we just take the same path we took during our regular playthrough, we'll collect all the rings before we even reach the uphill section with the springboard enemies. So there certainly isn't much to say about this one, though I suppose that's the case with all of the ring missions, isn't it?
piece of cake. Here we
So if you recall the water surfing in the Chunon Day stage, you may wonder to yourself, well, how can I tell when it's safe to water surf and when it isn't? Will I just drown sometimes? And here's your answer. If there is water on the same level as Sonic at any point, you can totally water surf on it. It is an incredibly consistent mechanic. Very few limitations. It's just that most of the time the water is not on the same level as Sonic and there is something of a drop before you reach it. So in a sense, it's still definitely context sensitive, but it's context sensitive in a way that makes sense with how the mechanic is portrayed. So yes, if you're on the same level as the water, you're not going to boost into it and then suddenly drown at Mach 2. You will surf on it. This extra mission, by the way, is a time attack, which I find kind of insulting considering I already S-ranked the level, which is a much more difficult time attack than this thing. You can goof up a lot during the extra time attack missions and still be fine because the timer is way too lenient on the player. It's not really a time attack so much as a be the minimal amount of good at Sonic. If you are not the minimal amount of good at Sonic, then you will not pass the time attack missions, I'm sorry. You don't have to be great, you just have to be good enough that I can call you good at Sonic. Just the very minimal amount.
Here we
In a bold move, there is a second Collect the Rings extra mission. I know it's a little crazy. I don't know what they were thinking. But in all seriousness, they clearly just needed to pad the game out some more, and that's why this is here. I do like that you can use one of the springboard enemies to dash on a ring trail. That's kind of cute.
no problem.
In spite of being a late game boss, I actually find the Egg Lancer to be the easiest of all the Eggman boss battles. With the other Eggman boss battles, you had to take advantage when you saw an opening. You know, the bosses were open for a small period of time and you had to attack while they were open. In contrast to that, when you reach a certain part of the level, the Egg Lancer takes a predetermined amount of damage automatically. There's no real skill involved, you simply reach that section of the level and then the Egg Lancer gets hurt. And he gets hurt the same amount every time you reach that part of the level. It basically removes any challenge in actually physically attacking the boss. It is very possible to deal some extra damage to the Egg Lancer, but it's by no means necessary, as you'll see in a moment. But anyway, the way this boss battle functions actually changes the entire dynamic of the Eggman boss battles. Normally, you need to dodge the attacks, you need to time your attacks, and you need to attack quickly. But instead, now we only need to dodge the attacks and move quickly, making it more like a normal day stage than a boss battle. I'm not sure whether that makes this boss battle better or worse. I certainly preferred the original method, because I felt like I had more input in actually destroying the boss, and I felt that my skill mattered more. But the Egg Lancer boss battle also has much better attack patterns than the previous boss. It seems to place more emphasis on moving quicker because you want to reach the part of the level where the boss actually takes damage faster. And it's still possible to deal optional damage to the boss before you reach that section. I'm not quite sure how to evaluate it because it is really odd. Honestly though, it doesn't feel that much more or less challenging than the other Eggman boss battles. It's true that less of my input is required here because I no longer have to time my attacks. But timing my attacks in the other Eggman boss battles didn't require that much effort. It's very simple stuff, you know, Eggman's cockpit is open, now I have to attack it, and attacking it certainly wasn't difficult. It did require some extra effort, but the extra effort it required is almost negligible. If I weren't trying to analyze the game like this, I probably wouldn't have noticed that the extra input that was required in the earlier Eggman boss battles is now missing. I'm only noticing because I'm actively thinking about it.
What? Over already? Oh well. What's wrong, buddy?
Huh? Oh, right. I'm just scared.
Scared? It's just another old temple. It doesn't look like there's anyone around either.
That's not what I mean. That's not... Never mind. I'm fine. Let's go.
Whoa.
I welcome your return. Messenger of day, of light, of rebirth. Sonic, I remember now. All of it. My real name is Light Gaia. I draw power from the day and light, and guide the planet to its rebirth. My job was to protect the planet from Dark Gaia. But Eggman broke the world apart himself, and Dark Gaia and I were awakened before we should have been. That's why Dark Gaia broke apart, and I didn't know who I was. I didn't remember what I was supposed to do. All because this isn't the proper time of awakening.
Time of awakening?
Dark Gaia grows over millions of years, then rises to destroy the world. And I put it all back together. We've been doing this over and over, again and again, since the very beginning of time.
So you were asleep all this time? For millions of years?
Yes, for ages and ages.
I bet it's thanks to you.
Hmm?
Even at night when I'm like this, I'm still myself, not like all the other people we've seen. You must have been protecting me this whole time.
I haven't done anything, Sonic. You're the reason you haven't changed at all. You're too strong to lose yourself.
I'm the reason?
Yeah, you never doubt yourself, no matter what. You never give in to the night or the darkness inside your heart. I think it's because I knew that about you. That's why I wanted you to help me. It's been so fun, getting to see the world. I've lived here since the planet began, but I didn't know a thing about it. That it's so pretty, or that food tastes so good, or that people are so nice. I'm so glad I got the chance to discover all that with you, and I'm so glad that you helped me find my memory. Sonic, I will never, ever forget you. Thank you, Sonic. Goodbye, friend.
Hey!
Whoa, what?
Where do you think you're off to all by yourself?
What? But my memory is back now, and, well, from here on out, it's my responsibility, so, I mean, there's no reason for you to come along, so I should just...
Do I need a reason to want to help out a friend?
Thanks, Sonic. Yeah!
Welcome to Eggman Land, the brainchild of my heart and soul. This is my magnificent empire, made possible through my genius and the limitless energy harnessed from Dark Gaia.
What? Whoa, this place is crazy.
I'll never understand Eggman's tastes.
Get a good shot.
Surprise? Yes, of course you are! Sonic! If you have any complaints, come deliver them to me in person. If you can, that is.
Ah, he's enjoying this way too much.
Sonic! I can feel the last temple nearby. He must have built this place on top of it.
Well, I guess we'll just have to tear it down.